actually the catalogue, the big previous catalogue is done, and we'll never see its like again. But it would be great if we could, because that was the Bible for so many people, and a lot of people loved using that, just the physical going through info on the pages. But if we're not going to have that, is there some way maybe in the month we could have some sort of customer-friendly email that had everything in it that we can share?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we've talked about. You know, the future previews, you know, we don't know, like it or hate it. It was a perfect tool. You know what I mean? You know, you could show people, and these are the questions that Ben and I have been asking the publishers. It's like, look, it's great, we've got enough information to give you, you know what I mean, but how do you get that to the consumer? You know what I mean? You know, how does the consumer know? At the minute, you know, they're all fans and they're kind of relying on you and you're relying on us and it's still working. You know, but going forward and when we want to grow and when we want to recruit, you know, we want to reach out to new people without a previews catalogue, you know, how do we help do that? You know, and some of the publishers in the US are looking into it, we know that, you know, but you're right, one of the thoughts that we had was, you know, you know, do we need a consumer-facing, it'll be a website, it won't be a catalogue, because unfortunately, as much as we'd like to, previews is for sale, anyone can buy previews and put it together. You know, it is something that probably will be sold as a, you know, as a going concern, just like Free Comic Day. But without the publishers, if Adpop haven't got as many publishers, it's probably not something that they're going to create, you know what I mean? And they've already stopped doing it, you know, in print anyway. So we're hoping that, you know, maybe, you know, because you can get a Marvel previews catalogue that can sit on your shelf, which is great. You can get a DC one, you can get an IDW one, you can get a Dynamite one, you know, but some of the others are digital only. So the question, I guess, is, you know, would a consumer-facing website that you can point people to, that would have all that information on it, obviously it would have dollar prices, it wouldn't have any UK prices, you know what I mean? Is that something that you think you would use and be able to show people and say, check this out, you know, and we can include the PDFs and we can kind of make it, you know, fairly user-friendly, you know, is that something that you would look to help sales?
I would say 100%. I mean, I was sending people links to different catalogues. I get the
Yeah.
catalogs in email. I don't charge any fee for them because of what they're ordering. I know the customers, because there's a whole email chain in the shop, but people were sending me links to where they were getting information. So it was quite a community sort of supporting each other. But
Yeah.
if there was that one default, go there, first of the month, get your orders in by whatever, it would be.
Well, yeah, that's what we've actually been talking about. And like I say, we kind of.
Certain publications, if we don't have something that we can pass on to our customers, the place that they're going to source that is through Amazon, and then we lose the service to them.
That's it. I mean, we stuck to print. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, we all had this digital sort of thing 10 years ago when, you know, we talked about Diamond Digital and we had all these kind of concerns and you know, I think Rich reported on it. Print went up. You know, so we're not as bothered about digital anymore. But the fact that we are print means should our catalogue be, you know, print? And like I say, based on what we've been telling you about how hard it is to get the information, there's no way we're going to get it early enough to put it in print early enough. You know what I mean? So we're not saying that we're passing that book on to other people, but that might be what we're doing. You know, and we'll see. We will see what comes of it. You know, because maybe some of those other publishers that are digital only and don't get to consumers, if in 6 months they see the sales drop, then maybe they'll put something together. So.
And it is little things like that, I think, that for me, sort of sums up the industry at the moment. I mean, I'm sure you've all felt it, but buying comics and graphic novels and selling comics and graphic novels should be quite a straightforward business. But over the last year or so, it seems to have got a lot more complicated, and there's extra layers of you know, to the process kind of thing. And you know, things like no previews, no printed catalogue, things like, you know, our new catalogue as it stands digitally is kind of, you know, a work in progress, and you know, we're fully aware of that. It's all those sort of things that, you know, we've certainly experienced ourselves even before the Chapter 11 thing started, and I'm sure you guys have too, kind of thing, because as I said, it should be straightforward, but you know, this is the world we live in now, kind of thing. So there are those little layers and those extra things we have to take into account when all we want to do is order another 20 copies of a Batman comic or whatever it might be, kind of thing. So, you know, we fully understand your predicament, but I think it's felt by everyone, whatever aspect in the industry you're in, whether you're publisher side, distributor side, consumer, fan, comic shop side. I think everyone is experiencing those extra little layers that we now have to navigate, kind of thing, which you know, makes it just a little bit tricky.
I think that's the world. Honestly, you know what I mean? Well, listen to Ben there. That's our lives. I mean, you know, it's not just comics is a problem, but you know, everything seems to be a bit more difficult, unfortunately.
I think the good thing was I'll stop you, the customers themselves understood. They knew what was going on.
Yeah.
They knew that I was doing my best. They knew that you were doing your best. They knew everybody was just trying to get this through.
It shows why we all love the industry so much. You know what I mean? You know, the customers don't want you to disappear. They don't want us to disappear. You know what I mean? They like the stuff. You know, you'll talk to them. Some might wait, some won't. Some might go somewhere else and buy it because they're worried that they'll miss out. You know, that FOMO for comics is probably worse than anything. But you know, like we said, the fact that we've had such a strong year, given you know the challenges that everyone's faced. You know, I think you know we're not saying us. We're saying everybody here should be really proud. You know what I mean, of what we do and the job that we do, you know what I mean? Because, you know, it's proven that we're doing it for the right reason. You know what I mean? People, you know, are picking up stuff more and more. We've got more readers now than we had this time last year. You know what I mean? You know, it's a fact. You know, so the fact that it's been harder than ever to get it into their hands, you know, hopefully gives us some strength and confidence for the next year or two. Dave?